Here we go. Chapter 11. How can you be an effective teacher in an inclusive program? This is important. Make sure you read the chapter. All of these little videos are just supplemental, things that I would be saying if you were sitting in the classroom. But since you're not, I have to say it this way, but you need to read the chapter in the book. Okay. Teacher training and child development is a must. Congratulations, that's what you're doing right now. Understanding the similarities among all children. As we've gone through all of these classes in child development here at Parkland, you should have a pretty good idea of how children develop and what you can expect at certain ages and stages of development. You should be respecting the ethnic, racial, linguistic, and cultural diversity of the community and creating learning experiences that are culturally sensitive. So, what does this make me think of? It makes me think of the three components of developmentally appropriate practice, right? Understanding how children develop, understanding each individual child's development, and understanding the cultural standards of the community. So if you learn nothing else, you should learn from me in child development that you need to talk to kids. You need to sing with kids. Language development is very important. And developmentally appropriate practice is super important for all children, right? So you can be developmentally appropriate for children who have special needs, right? Because the second tenet of that is understanding the special developmental needs of a child. Understanding the variety in children's ability and needs and working as a team, right? So one thing that I think is an interesting thing that happens in classrooms where you have a child who has developmental disabilities or some sort of special needs is often when there are two teachers, there is one teacher who connects really well with that child, and then there's another teacher who may not connect as well. So you need to figure out who's going to be your go-to person for that child. It also is helpful for the child to know that they have that one person that they can rely on. Now, that doesn't mean that only one person interacts with that child. It just means that that is sort of the go-to, right? So that person is the go-to for any of that child's needs, for working with the parents. Obviously share responsibilities and tasks and share the load, but also make sure that you are presenting a consistent person in that family's life. What are some concerns? Teachers often feel unprepared to work with children who have disabilities. So what you need to do in that case is get really tight with the family, get really tight with all the other people who are part of the IFSP team, right? Have them show you what you need to know about working with that child. And obviously, each child is going to be different. Each team is going to be different. The priorities are going to be different. So you need to inform yourself and figure out how to work together well, okay? Obviously, the more you know going into it, the better off you're going to be, but sometimes a child doesn't have an issue until they're deep into your school year or into your care, or nobody realizes it until later. So it's not like you are in a situation where you know 6 weeks in advance that Sarah, who has a language delay and has muscle control concern, is coming into your classroom and you can do everything you need to learn about it. That's not how it happens. Like, it shows up and you need to figure it out there. But having all of this background and knowing where to look for that is important. That's why you're doing two things in this class as well. You are doing the assignment on the autism program, and you're doing an assignment on the early childhood clearinghouse. So there you go. Those are places where you can find out more information. Also, there are so many websites out there that have all kinds of stuff. You need to make sure that what you're learning fits with what you already know. When you go to a website and it tells you things that seem a little off and not exactly what you learned, then don't use that website. Don't use that as any sort of background. Reach out to local agencies, reach out to developmental services here in Champaign. Super, super helpful. Super helpful. Okay. Um, you need to look at your program and figure out what's going to be best for working with this child and all of the children in your program or classroom. So you can't make changes that are great for Sarah, but have an effect on the rest of the class. It needs to be everybody together. How can we all work together to provide the best situation for all of our kids, right? A lot of times, looking at your physical environment, do you have problems getting wheelchairs in and out? Is your physical environment inviting kids who have attention problems to exhibit bad behaviors, right? Um, your scheduling, how can you make your scheduling work better for everybody? Those are the things that you need to look at and can change. Um, remembering that each child is a child, um, and that behaviors, while they can be impacted by disabilities, you should not blame a behavior on a disability. And remembering children are first, right? So, all of these things are things that you should have in your head. The applied developmental approach, reviewing developmental principles, remembering how development works, thinking about how development works among the different domains, right? Um, seeing when development looks inconsistent. So you've gone on this track, you've gone on this track, and then all of a sudden something happened. What happened? Sarah was talking and chatting and being very vocal, and then all of a sudden she stopped. Why is that? What do we think happens, right? You need to look around and see that the way you are teaching is impacting all of the children in your classroom in the most positive way, right? Um, you need to sorry, you need to look in your book and read through all of this stuff because this is giving you keys to working with children in your classroom, right? So you need to, with many children, rewarding them for doing the right thing is most effective, right? And it helps develop attachments and relationships. But you also need to make sure that you are making sure that all of your expectations are clearly laid out so that all children know what's expected of them, right? And then you help those who need a little extra help in meeting those expectations. We all know what teachable moments are, right? Okay. So, what do you need to be an effective teacher? You need to be enthusiastic. You need to have a sense of humor. You need to have patience, consistency, flexibility, trustworthiness. You need to provide limits and you need to facilitate experiences. So, all of those things, and those are characteristics that all teachers need to have all the time, right? Sometimes it's hard to have that flexibility when you have 20 kids and you need to get everybody through the bathroom before you go outside, right? Sometimes it's hard to have that flexibility when it's time to put away the toys because you've got something else to do. Sometimes it's hard to have patience when that child is whining, 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 and just working your last nerve. The best teacher can muster up all of these things most of the time, right? Some days are going to work and some days just aren't. And those are the days when it's good to have a sense of humor, right? So the teacher's job is to work as the mediator between the child and the environment. So you set up the environment and then you help the child work through it, right? We know what scaffolding is. Oh, we're done. So read the chapter because, like I said, there's stuff in there that I can't cover here. And that is chapter 11.